Hello and welcome to Viewpoint on Ukraine today. More than 2 million people were left without power in Crimea following an attack on the main power lines on November 20th and 21st. The Russian government declared a state of emergency in the Black Sea Peninsula. The attack is likely to increase further tensions between Russia and Ukraine. It's now almost 2 years since Russia invaded Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula. Joining me now to discuss the blackout in Crimea is Ihor Lutsenko, Ukrainian journalist and one of a number of fresh faces to enter the Ukrainian parliament via the 2014 election. Welcome to Viewpoint.
Hello.
So how is the Ukrainian government going to deal with this blackout in Crimea?
I think the government will be relatively passive. I think the main active role is those who are in the field near Crimea, the activists. Actually, I think they are connected with all the things that happened to the power lines. So government is just observing, and they try to interfere, but of course for them it's very difficult, because if they take either a position of yes or not to providing the electricity, it will be politically difficult for them. So they are just giving that initiative to usual people, so to say.
So these activists are considered to be nationalists?
They are Crimean Tatars, and probably they are nationalists because they are protecting their nation. And of course, all nationalistic organizations in Ukraine actively support them. There are a lot of Ukrainians. I think the majority of people who are in that field near the, so to say, border with Crimea, so they are Ukrainians. And therefore, of course, they actively support the blackout. It's the matter of protection of Ukrainian activists in Crimea and Crimean Tatars, because they're under great pressure. And when we started the action in September, one of the conditions of providing electricity and
what was the action that you started in September?
Yes, we started from cutting the cargo movement from Ukraine to Crimea, because a lot of food was coming to Crimea, and this is a matter of maybe their independence from Ukraine is that they have enough food, they have enough electricity. So the easiest action was to stop the movement of trucks from Ukraine to Crimea. And
did you think that this was going to be effective?
It was very effective. First of all, it stopped the illegal profits for local Crimean government, because they used that transport corridor, to provide the food to Russia. So it was like illegal transit, because if you go straightly to Russia border, you have to pay some extra charges. But if you go to Crimea, it's, so to say, our territory legally, and you don't have to pay anything. It was the first step. It was a sign that we are strong, that we have enough ideas for action and enough power for action. And one of the conditions that we proclaimed was stopping the repression against activists in Crimea, especially Crimean Tatars and Ukrainians. And theoretically, we can stop that action if we receive enough guarantees from Russia that the human rights will not be violated in Crimea, and if they release the people who were captured and taken to prison, like Sentsov, like Savchenko, like other Tatar activists, and so on.
But essentially, with these different staged protests, like the food blockade and the power blockade now, essentially, the residents of Crimea pay for this. Do you think this is fair?
I think this is an awful situation of war, and we don't have enough choice. It's the rule of war that if the country captures your territory, it's the ability of that country, that aggressor, to provide all necessary goods for that territory. we are not rich enough to support Russia in supporting Crimean people. So the less money Russia will have for supporting Crimea, the less money Russia will have for supporting people who are killing us in eastern part of Donbass. So that's the logic of war. It's, of course, it's a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's even awful situation, I would say, but we don't have choice in that situation.
How will this power outage affect Russia's influence in the region?
First of all, why people from Crimea respected Russia and why they actually was not very against going to Russia, many of them. It's because they respected Russia as a powerful country. But of course it's not. It's not able to provide Crimea with everything without Ukraine. Electricity, food, transport and so on. So that was kind of myth that Russia will come and make a paradise in Crimea. First of all, we should give enough sign to Russia that we will not tolerate everything that is happening. It's very important propaganda effect, that Ukraine is something that you are very connected to. It was always like that. It was.
So you're trying to break links with Russia, essentially?
Yes, propagandic links, this myth that Russia is everything, that Putin is God. And unfortunately, it was like that like 2 years ago, because everybody sees that Russia is coming in, doesn't have any resistance for Ukraine, so everything will be good because Russians are very good, but they are not. They are violating human rights, they are taking the property from Crimeans, they are now have the problems with Ukraine because of electricity, food, and so on.
Okay, let's talk about Kryvyi Rih. There was an election there recently, and there's been some protests and some party infighting going on in the parliament. Some people respect the voters' decision to elect Mr. Vilkul. Some people don't, and some parties don't. What is the Fatherland's position on this, Fatherland's party?
Yes, as not a member of party, but as a member of faction, I ask a lot of questions about Kryvyi Rih, of course, and of course the position is very clear that we support the candidate from Samopomich. That's the answer. But the issue is that all the party, not only Batkivshina, but all other democratic parties should support the democratic candidate in Kryvyi Rih more actively.
Mm-hmm. But as I understand, Mr. Vilkul has a controversial reputation. He's connected to former disgraced President Viktor Yanukovych.
I would say he's a member of Yanukovych's family, one of his closest allies. And now it's a great ideological threat for Maidan if some person like that can win an election in one of the key cities in the central region. So all parties should unite. But the situation in this city is very, I would say, very similar to what Maidan was. People are ready for very straight action, very active action, so to say. But politicians are kind of hesitating what position they should take. And only because of very active people in Kryvyi Rih and as well as in Kyiv, we have enough chances to win the election in Kryvyi Rih.
Mm-hmm. Does your party support Mr. Vilkul?
No, definitely not. But the issue is we should do it more actively. Even organizing Maidan in Kryvyi Rih for protection of the result. Even organizing some actions in Kyiv, in Central Election Commission as well. So I participate in that action in the Central Commission. Unfortunately, not many of my colleagues from Batkivshina, but I think they will join later in next days.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that, what is your prediction basically, is going to happen in Kryvyi Rih?
I think I think there will be either re-election or the decision of Central Election Commission to recalculate the results. Because there is clear signs of falsification of voting, because there are a lot of regions with the average result and one region with very high result of Mr. Wilko. So that should be investigated and that should be probably recalculated so that everybody sees the honest result.
You were a very active member during Ukraine's pro-EU revolution, and you were once captured and were beaten up even, and then you were released back. And how would you feel if a member, as you said so yourself, of Yanukovych's inner circle would be elected as a mayor in a small town in Ukraine?
It's of course it's an awful situation because we come to the problem of punishment of crimes, of criminals, of Yanukovych criminals. Actually, none of them was punished, and so the system will not change. So the system in Kryvyi Rih, it produces the falsified result on election. The system in many other cities, we do not mention some other city where the situation is the same, where pro-separatistic people, they take the position of in the city councils, in mayor position, and so on. So this is the problem of police, of general prosecutor's office, and so on. So they do not investigate and punish in courts the criminals from Yanukovych, even the closest family, not even.
So you feel that justice has not been served?
Unfortunately, justice is not our achievement so far. So that's this stable cause of revolutionary situation in Ukraine. That we see the same members of police that acted against Maidan, that beat at us. We see them in the usual actions now in Kyiv, in Crimea, on the border of Crimea, and so on. So this always causes some very dangerous situation where people are against present politicians. They say, why do you not do anything about criminals, about corruption, and so on?
Well, it seems that now that you've been elected into parliament, it's up to such as yourself and other new parliamentarians to do something about this.
Yes, but the problem is the spirit of parliament is still old. The spirit of our political system is old. We have the start of revolution, but we do not have any significant achievement of revolution except making us more independent from Russia. So this political system should be changed from feudal system to democratic system with separation of branches of power and so on. So we have to have really new constitution, because it's constitutional problems that we have with Yanukovych, with Kuchma and other guys.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
This has been Ihor Lutsenko, a Ukrainian journalist and one of a number of fresh faces to enter the Ukrainian parliament via the 2014 election. You've been watching Viewpoint on Ukraine Today.